here. Thanks for joining me, everybody. My name's Matt Savas, and I'm with the Lean Enterprise Institute. And I'm going to be talking today about the application of AI to automate a process we have here at the Lean Enterprise Institute. It's not a particularly exciting process. Not many are, I guess. This book royalties. I'll explain that in more detail in just a second. Let's go ahead and begin. Before kind of diving in, I want to give a bit of the lay of the land on what this presentation is about. So um, I'm going to be talking about how I think this technology and other web applications can be hugely empowering to individuals and small teams. I'm not going to be talking about enterprise applications. I will never claim to understand how you manage these powerful technologies in complex environments, but for individuals and small teams, I've found them to be amazingly empowering. And I'm going to demonstrate that through a real world case study, a challenging problem we solved here at LEI. And if we have some time, and I think we will, maybe give a little ChatGPT demo and then some Q&A. And I don't have the official slide deck. I guess I missed that email. So all my slides are with AI art generated by Midjourney, which is a generative AI tool where you can type in a prompt and it spits out an image. Now, I'd like to get familiar with you all and understand how familiar you are with some of these tools. So we'll start out here. First, have you ever heard of ChatGPT? I think there's a reactions button in the top right of your screen. Just give a little reaction if you've heard of ChatGPT before. You're able to find that reaction button in the top right. I think there's a heart, a thumbs up, a wow face. Okay, lots of thumbs up. Everybody's heard of ChatGPT. Okay, and then how often do you use ChatGPT? And please pick the emoji that corresponds with your usage frequency. So if you don't use it ever, put the little shock face. Oh boy, a lot of parties. Okay, never. Okay, interesting. Sort of binary. People are using it either every day or never. That's interesting. I bet the people using it every day are addicted to it. That is fantastic. Wow, very funny. Okay, I'm in the everyday camp. Okay. Now, a little bit about me. Again, this is generative AI. I'm not that good looking in real life, as you can tell if you see my face here. Hair is gray. This guy is not. But I studied East Asian studies, especially Japanese history and language in college, and I have really no programming experience. I moved to Japan not to learn anything about Toyota or Lean. I moved there to teach English. I went to a language school, and I worked for a small travel company. Returned to the US, went to business school, and I took one class on data analytics, and I took a Udacity online course on Python. Very simple. I don't really know anything about programming or like data management. So that's the key point about this presentation. Now, I'm not going to do much philosophizing around AI and all that stuff. There's plenty of people doing that, but I will give you sort of my take on what I think this tool is really good for right now. I think ChatGPT almost sort of modularizes your brain, where you can decide what sort of skill or thing do I want to do that I'm currently incapable of doing right now. And you can either do that thing right away, like code, or you can learn to do it, I think, with a lot more efficiency than the tools that exist today. And the reason for that is because you can use this device to meet you exactly where you're at as a learner. You can train it to teach you as if you're a beginner or somebody who has some knowledge or as somebody with a lot of knowledge. And you can even get it to spit out the instruction in a format that you prefer. So it really meets you from a learner's perspective. It's a custom teacher, custom instructor. And that's, I think, really fabulous. And for now, has a lot of empowering implications for individuals, small teams. Okay, so that's sort of my take on where it is today and how I think it's useful. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the case study here. So it's not so exciting. Paying book royalties. I think everybody knows what a royalty is, but if you don't, I'll briefly explain it. LEI has a books publishing business. We've published 20 to 25 books over the years. I suspect some people in the audience have read some of these books. So each time a book is sold, LEI is obliged to pay the author of the book a percentage of that sale. Okay. So if a book costs $100 and an author gets 10%, they get 10 bucks. Pretty straightforward. I'll explain that in a kind of flow here, the only AI art I don't have. You can tell my terrible PowerPoint skills. So we have our customer here, and they go to lean.org and they buy, say, Learning to See, one of our best-selling books, for 60 bucks. And then the author, in this case, John Shook, is going to get 10%. That's not John Shook's actual royalty. It's just here for example purposes. And so we need to get John his 10% every time a book is sold. Looks easy. I thought it would be easy. It's actually a lot more complicated than that. And it's complicated for a lot of reasons. First, it's not just the lean.org sales channel. There are many other sales channels. There's Amazon, there's Audible, there's Google Play, etc. So you have to collect sales from all of those channels. Not all of these channels record sales in US dollars. Some record them in the local currency. So if somebody buys a Kindle book in Japan, it records it in yen, and it's 150 yen to the dollar. Okay, so it's not one to one. So you have to normalize those sales around the US dollar. Next, the transaction is made across two information systems. The order gets processed through WooCommerce, our e-commerce platform, but the money is transacted through Braintree. And it's the money that matters. WooCommerce gathers all kinds of other stuff, fraudulent orders, etc. Braintree processes the actual real transactions. So you have to match those up. Not so easy. And then some books have multiple authors, like Learning to See. It's not just John Shook, it's Mike Rother. And Mike's royalty might be different than John's royalty. Maybe he gets 15%, John gets 10%. And then some contracts are based on top line revenue, but some you have to subtract the printing costs and the fulfillment costs from the order before you calculate the royalty. So what looks like a very simple process is actually very complicated. And at LEI, we have to do this for whatever, 20, 24 books every single month. Okay. And to get something like this, this is an actual royalty statement for an author, gives all the channels, the book they sold, the number of units, and then it spits out the actual royalties that are due to that author every month. And at LEI, we previously had just one person who could solve this very challenging puzzle. That was our accountant. And our accountant left earlier this year to pursue another opportunity. And so we had to scramble as an organization. We were not prepared to figure out how to do this problem. So how to issue these royalties each month. And authors were getting upset naturally. They were expecting payments, they weren't getting them. Some authors hadn't paid in a very long time. And actually, even when we were paying royalties on time, there could be errors because of all of the fault points in that challenging puzzle I just showed you. Okay, so I took over the books business in June or July of this year, and I thought, okay, surely we can figure out a better way to do this. It's a live shot of me in June 15th, 2023. I thought this would be very easy. How hard could this be? Well, it was very hard. Again, because of all the complexities that I showed earlier. Okay. All right, so we have a very hard problem. It's a software, it's just, calculating different data points. So what's the solution? The solution, of course, is the third-party software provider. But we all have lived that experience. This is the experience of working with third-party software providers. If some of you are third-party software providers, I apologize. Hope I offended you. But it is challenging for lots of reasons. For one, if you're going to outsource development of an application, you need to understand the requirements up front. And in my experience, I found this almost impossible to do because you don't understand the entirety of the problem before you begin development. And again, a lot of those things that I showed you earlier, I discovered midway through development with the tools I'll show you in a second. For instance, I didn't know that all sales were captured in different currencies. Um, I found that out midway through. I didn't know some books had multiple authors with different royalty payments. It would have been impossible for me to provide all the requirements up front, which would have led to the things that come with this kind of work, which is rework, blown budgets, missed deadlines, all that kind of thing. And the reason I've used my AI friend to picture this image here is because I think a lot of these third-party small software companies are going to suffer as a consequence of this because AI is going to be able to build these applications for people pretty easily um, and render a lot of these companies obsolete. And so we'll be looking at them like wall paintings from the medieval ages in a few years' time. Okay, so third-party software providers are not the solution. Well, here we are. Let's try ChatGPT. Let's see if this tool is able to develop the application I need, even though I have no experience programming. Let's give it a shot. Okay. Now, before I go through the applications and the show some of like the demo stuff, I'm going to point out a few things that I found really remarkable using this tool along the way. It's like a compare and contrast. Okay, so third-party software versus using ChatGPT. Third-party software, a lot of late night calls. A lot of these teams exist overseas, and you're going to be working in very different time zones. Okay, so late night calls, a lot of emails. You don't get the result that you want. You might get something that works, but not quite does what you want it to do. With ChatGPT, what's amazing is you can rapidly experiment. If you have an idea, if you have a problem, you can try to solve it immediately. You don't need to contact anybody. You just begin interacting with this thing and it starts doing what you ask it to do. It's astounding. The other thing is, again, I talked about you can't understand all the requirements up front. Okay, and so you wind up with unexpected problems. I'll give a few more examples. Okay, so um, time zones. Some sales are recorded in different time zones, and that messes with the start and end of the month. And you need to normalize all the time zones across the different sales channels to accurately calculate sales for each month. I never would have figured that out. I just would have discovered a problem with the finished thing and then would have pulled my hair out at, you know, this, this, now we have to go back. We have to fix this if we want to get it right. With ChatGPT, you can solve these kinds of unexpected problems immediately. You see the problem and you can begin addressing it now in development. It's amazing. Last thing, communication. A lot of these projects, the communication can be poor. And again, you might be working with a team in a very different time zone. I don't understand software. I don't really know what an API is. I don't really know what JavaScript is. So I can't really speak their language. And so you can often feel like you're talking past each other. With ChatGPT, you have, I would say, not just somebody who can communicate clearly ideas you're unfamiliar with, concepts you're unfamiliar with, but can solve problems collaboratively with you. A good example of that is that time zone issue, where on the edge, the first and last of the month, I've towards the end of building this application, and the sales were just not tying out. And I just had a hunch, well, maybe it's something going wrong with sales at the start and end of the month. Maybe it's something there. And I typed it into ChatGPT, hey, what do you think of this hunch? And they said, yes, that could be it because time zones aren't normalized across the different sales. I thought, oh, okay. And sure enough, that was it. Okay. Amazing. Really astounding. It's a collaborative problem solver. It's not just a software developer. It's really astounding. Okay. So I'll introduce, it wasn't just ChatGPT that I used, it was a couple other applications. You may be familiar with these. Zapier is especially popular. This is a web application that allows different web apps to talk to each other so data can move from one to another. Airtable is another web application that makes it easy to build a relational database. Airtable is where we stored all of the data, the sales data, so then we could transform it into a statement. And ChatGPT is what we used to manipulate the data to transform it into the statements. Okay. If you're not familiar with these tools, I'm going to show a couple. So here's an actual, they call them zaps. Can you see my web browser? Just give me a thumbs up here if you see a web browser now instead of a PowerPoint presentation, or a thumb, or show me like a wow if you see a slide deck. A wow. Okay, you're still seeing the slide deck. Okay. All right, now you should be seeing a web browser. Can I get a thumbs up if you see a web browser? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so Zap, so WooCommerce is our e-commerce platform. What this is saying is when somebody places an order for a book, take that order, put the data into Airtable with all of the titles that the customer purchased. And here are all the data fields that are going to move. Okay. It's a really useful application if you've never used Zapier and you have a lot of sort of mind-numbing administrative processes. Check it out. It's great. Super easy to use too. Okay, so Zapier moved the data into Airtable. Airtable, I'll show you what that looks like. Again, it's just a database. It looks like Excel. It's a lot more powerful in Excel. But here's that data from WooCommerce. So we got titles, we got order quantities, we got totals for orders, all that stuff. So this is just automatically getting pushed from WooCommerce into Airtable thanks to Zapier. Now we have all the data we need to organize it into a statement. That's not so easy, it turns out. So that's where we turn to my friend ChatGPT. This is an example conversation I had. I had many conversations with this thing over the course of maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I wasn't building it continuously. I was doing a lot of other work along the way, so it took some time. But I'll show you one example of, let's see. Okay, so I needed to break sales out by channel. I wanted to show authors where they were getting their books sold, Amazon, lean.org, wherever else. So I said, hey, can we use a field called channel to break sales out by channel on the statement? And it said, sure, you sure can. And then it began to write this code. This is JavaScript. Okay. And then I would take these blocks of code and I would move them into Airtable. What's great about Airtable is you can run custom scripts on your data. And so here are some custom scripts, namely this guy here. These 4 scripts are the principal ones that generate manipulate the data and then organize it in a way where we can generate a statement. Here's an example. This was all written by ChatGPT. I'm not even going to pretend to understand what this is. I mean, I sort of can figure it out, but here it is. And these 4 scripts, when I hit the little button, when button is clicked, these 4 scripts will run and out pop royalty statements. This explanation of what the script does was also written by ChatGPT because I didn't know, I couldn't explain it myself. I had ChatGPT explain it for me. And so now if somebody goes, they can see what this does exactly. And then I'll give you just a quick sense of like what a royalty statement looks like. I showed one earlier. Airtable has this other cool thing called extensions. It's just applications you can build on top of your data. And here's the statement. And so what once took that skilled accountant, I'm going to say probably a full day of work to do on his own, now takes me about 2 hours. The reason it takes 2 hours or so is because there are several sales channels where I still need to manually upload and manipulate data. They can't automatically come in through Zapier. But once the data is there, then it takes a matter of minutes to generate those statements. Importantly, I can also, I intend to train somebody on this. I had actually already, I intended to do it by now. I haven't. So that this is repeatable. Somebody, I'm confident somebody can do this work without really much know-how. And so we'll no longer be stuck with one person capable of doing this work. Okay. So that's the example case. I thought, we still got a few minutes. We'll see if this works. Hopefully it works. But I wanted to demonstrate the power of this tool, so I thought we could build a little app together. Okay, so we're going to build a little tack time calculator with ChatGPT. And let's do that. So there's this site called Replit. I don't even know how to pronounce it, coder. But anyway, you can build apps here. I'm going to enter a prompt into ChatGPT. Please write code to create a beautiful calculator app, web app with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I am using Replit. Okay, and we'll see it go to work. There it goes. It's explaining what tack time is. It's handy. There's the HTML code. Writing it. Well, that's working. See, you can multitask. See, that's going to work. I'm gonna get my Replit open here. Okay. You see, that's there we go. And go back to ChatGPT. It's still working on that HTML. Finish that. I'm gonna copy that code. There's the HTML. Paste it there. It's working on CSS, look and feel. There it goes. Done with that. Copy that. Go to CSS. Paste that there. And now it just needs the JavaScript. It's done with that. Grab that. And I'm going to paste that here. And let's see if this works. We'll run our application. Well, let's see if it works. Amazing. Now, that's astounding. That is incredible. Now, we can also experiment. Like, I want this to look super awesome with a, I don't know, Zen feel. I have no idea what that means. Let's see what ChatGPT thinks it means. Soothing colors, minimalist design, smooth transitions. Sure, that's pretty good. Well, that's going. Feel free to ask questions. I'll try to answer them as we go here. There it goes. Amazing. Let's try it on here. Let's see what a Zen tack time calculator looks like here. That was the HTML. That, paste that. CSS. And grab that. CSS. Replace that. Probably didn't touch the JavaScript. Nope, means the same. Let's add some smooth. Oh, it's going to add an animation. Interesting. It's neat. Take that. Certainty here. Oh, just named it Zen. That's a little disappointing. Got this little fade effect though. Okay. So that's the end of the presentation. We have a few minutes left here. So I'll open it up if there are any questions that folks have, or if anybody wants to share an interesting use case, feel free to type that into the chat as well. I've used it for any number of things, from personal fitness, designing a garden, course, recipes, things like that. But it's it is staggering that you're able to, with no experience at all, build pretty complex applications um, just with. And I wouldn't say it's about prompting. I really do think it is about interacting with the tool. And so it's about having, I think, extended back and forths with this thing to get it to understand what you want it to do, and then trying it out, rapid, essentially PDCA cycles to get it to do what you need it to do. Um, and for individuals and companies, they can acquire skills that would normally take years to develop almost immediately. That's incredible. Well, I don't see any questions, and I don't know if I have all that much more to present to you all. So if there are no questions, I may go ahead and just wrap our session here a few minutes early. Couple claps. Thanks for the couple claps there. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me, everybody, and hopefully I'll see you back in some of the other presentations today.